This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Hey, before we talk about the AFL, just want to mention the NBA. And we were talking yesterday that the Dallas Mavericks were able to win the lottery in the NBA draft and take home the number one pick.
1.8% chance of winning it, and they did. Which is why it's a lottery, you know.
Most definitely. It's always interesting to see follow-up stories. And there was one online yesterday that said Josh Giddey cost the Chicago Bulls the number one pick.
I read this because he nailed that
buzzer beater against LA.
Yeah, that was enough that they didn't finish in the right position. They finished too high, right? Too many wins.
Well, both teams finished on the same amount of victories, Dallas and Chicago. And what they did, they had a flip of the coin to see who would get the opportunity to go into that draft. And Dallas won the flip of the coin, which meant Chicago went one place above them. And therefore Dallas won.
So had Josh Giddey not landed that shot, then they wouldn't have finished on the same number of wins. They would have been the outright
11th, I think it might have been, which meant they would have got their 1.8 in the lottery, which was Dallas' spot, taking the number one pick, taking Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the generational player that everybody is talking about at the moment. There's a lot of ifs,
Who's the number two guy?
Exactly.
Is he going to be all right?
Mate, there's guns everywhere. It's the NBA, for God's sake. Now, moving on to the AFL, and they've come out and taken full responsibility for the actions that took place last Thursday when the Fremantle Dockers are playing Collingwood, and our man Jordan Clark took out former teammate Lachie Schultz, who was visibly concussed.
So it should be, it was an accidental collision, and Jordan Clark got in no trouble with the tribunal. It was deemed that it was all above board. It was just bad luck for Lachie Schultz. But he was concussed, and then there was a lot of criticism after that of the way that the umpires handled it, right?
Absolutely, there was enormous, and also the league, who comes out and said nothing to see here yet again, which they've done that a couple of weeks in a row. And the thing is about this, the game was on Thursday, and it's taken till yesterday, Wednesday, for the AFL to put their hand up. I watch a lot of people watch AFL 360 because Jared Waitley, he tells us a story.
He's like the voice of reason, isn't he? Like, I believe when Jared says something, I believe it, It's well researched. Yes. It's well put across by Jared, and you'll hear him and Gary Lyon also. Here's Jared.
AFL staffer rang the umpires coach in the post-game. There were crossed wires, which meant that the subsequent clarification that was issued was wrong. The AFL never checks its vision and audio. Channel 7 does. The AFL says the umpires misled them. The umpires had never been asked. The umpires are labelled liars on TV, and there's a university lecture in how it all gets resolved from here. And you think about, there are 4 umpires involved. Simon Meredith is the most decorated of them, never asked.
In this whole process, the man who's umpired 500 games of football was never asked.
500 games of football.
Okay, so Jared's kind of coming out there on the side of the umpires and saying, if you're going to criticise them heavily, at least ask them what happened, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you go to the experienced campaigner who's doing the Thursday night footy. Hey, by the way, Nat, what happened there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is my take on it.
If you're throwing somebody under the bus, at least
do some research.
Check their wallet.
Ask some questions. Check their wallet.
That's interesting, isn't it? So what's the fallout from that going to be?
Well, no, they just put their hand up and said, yeah, no worries. But it seems to be there's a missing link in communication somewhere.
So is it now that there is a rift between the Umpires Association and the AFL that is starting to widen a little bit? Is that what's going on, or are we reading too much into it?
If I was the umpire's boss, I'd be furious with the AFL at the moment because it seems like in a couple of occasions...
Who is the umpire's boss these days?
Laura Kane is the general manager. Sam will Google that right now and give us the answer to that, Nat. But I think it's interesting at the moment. As I said, there seems to be communication breakdown in the league. But here's the thing. Sometimes they over-police stuff. Yes. And in these circumstances, the last couple of weeks, they've under-policed it.
Yes.
So do we want it at a high level where they're investigating, the Willie Rioli situation?
Yes.
Or should they be able to come to a conclusion fast enough?
Yes.
Or faster to go, hey, this is the issue, we're dealing with it, or we need to have another look at it?
Because, there were serious concerns about Lachie Schultz's welfare. It comes down to a player welfare situation in that case, and that they just let the game go on even though he was severely concussed and on the ground. And so, and it turns out that the umpires were aware that there was somebody, so that was the vision from Channel 7. So why, when Jared said, the AFL don't review the footage, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they go back and say, hang on, let's have a look at what happened here before they come out and make a public statement about it? Why leave it up to the TV networks to do it?
Yeah, I
Knowing
don't know
that
what the
they're going
reason
to.
is there. Yeah, because you've got somebody who's in charge of the game, which is Laura Kane, and you've got other people in position that should be able to look over incidences like that.
Yeah.
It should be brought to the attention. Well, we were all watching at home, by the way. We all seen it.
Yeah.
We're talking about over 1 million people.
Yeah.
Who's the umpire's boss now?
350 AFL games. He's Shaun Ryan.
Oh, Shaun. Yeah.
8 grand finals. Yeah, he's as of this year.
Yep. Okay. Well, he'd be up and about.
Yeah.
He'd be furious.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
And the other thing is, it's okay for people to say, no, we made a mistake.
Correct.
If they made a mistake and they didn't communicate properly between them and, geez, we should have stopped the game so Lachie walked off the ground, everyone goes, no worries, and we move on.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty easy.
Yeah. Instead, we've been talking about it for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's 19 past 8 on Nova.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Hey, Nat, we caught up with Ben Damon from
Did.
KO yesterday or Tuesday, and we're talking about a couple of fights that were happening on main event last night, which was Sam Goodman, Australian, who's undefeated, and he got a few cuts and he was unable to fight for the world title.
Yes.
So to keep himself going, he's taken on a Mexican yesterday who he was able to win again. He's won 20 in a row, Sam.
Ooh.
It's a fair
that's
effort,
all right, isn't it?
Yeah. Harry Garside, our Olympian, was back in action for he's only had a handful of
It's number 4, I think, wasn't it? Professional fight?
Professional fights, and he was able to get the victory. There was a lot of talk about
Should it have been stopped or not?
should have been stopped or not.
What do you think?
I think if the referee has any doubt, you stop the fight.
Yeah.
Because I know Tim Zhu was one of them. A couple of the other guys who were ringside, should I say, they were saying, well, his opponent was wanting to keep fighting on.
Yes.
But the health and safety of the individual at the other end has to be taken into account. If the umpire says no, that he thinks he's had enough, that's enough now.
And the ref was saying that you haven't won a round at this stage, and you're getting absolutely pummeled. It's my responsibility to look after you. But I guess they're still thinking we could knock him out. Is the ethos there? Is
Yes.
that, yes,
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, I've still got a chance.
Happens.
I could knock him out. Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah.
I'm
Well done, Harry
glad.
Garside,
Yeah, I'm
though.
glad.
Yep.
Hey, the Margaret River Pro gets underway this weekend. In fact, Saturday.
Shaun,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Actually going down south this weekend. I'm going to go and check it the beginning out. But this morning, because I've been watching on YouTube and just seeing, because you get to see the pros warm up, and that's some of the good stuff. So people are out there filming all the time.
So them warming up is really them just having a bit of fun, isn't it? Because they don't have to wait for priority and all that sort of stuff. They can just get up there and surf a wave, yeah?
It's actually quite amazing to see how they come unstuck regularly like other people do out in the surf.
Yeah.
But when the competition's on, they're still pulling off those big manoeuvres, but they're actually landing them.
Yeah.
But a young guy called Jacob Wilcox, who's a Margaret River local, he has got a wild card into the competition on the men's side, which is good news. And Bronte Macaulay, who decided last year that she would retire, has come out of retirement and she's got a wild card as well. Now, take you back to Bronte Macaulay when I was up at Nalu, I asked her if she surfed in competitions.
No, you said, you're really good.
You're really good.
Have you thought about doing competitions? And she's like, I'm on the world circuit.
Exactly.
Classic
I've been following her
McManus.
ever since. So hopefully she does particularly well.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
No, I wasn't wrong at all. That was a really good foresight from her. And finally, on the back page of today's paper, there's more talk about Luke Jackson going back to Melbourne next year. Off-field issues have been taking place in his life over the last 12 months, is what they're saying. And now there's so much smoke, there has to be fire now.
There's tiny little flames are kicking up.
Yes. He's changed managers too, back to Jason Dover, who originally got him to be traded over to WA.
Local.
Jason Dover's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a local guy.
Yes. So they're kind of drawing the dots between the two and saying, okay, this means the back page says under new management. Now Jason can facilitate him going back to Melbourne.
He's changed his menu.
Max Gawn at Melbourne is 34, so I can see that if there was any kind of thought that Jackson would go back to Melbourne, then Melbourne Football Club would be all over him. But I would never play for them. They've got no supporter base, barely any money, and they're going to be crap.
But he won a premiership with them.
Yeah, who cares? They're on the slide big time, mate. They're on the slide big time. Yeah, no way.
So What do we think? What do you, in
What do
your
I think?
heart of hearts? What do
In
you
my
think?
heart of hearts, it's gathered too much momentum for this to just to be as the football club have been doing and just flicking it off their shoulders. Luke said 3 months ago that he categorically will be at Fremantle, right?
Yeah.
No plans of leaving. But this has just gone too far now.
But he lives in East Fremantle like I do, and the Good Grocer's just open, and the whole community just really loves it. So why would he leave that? Do you know what I mean? It's
Well, I
open
wouldn't leave it.
24 hours a day, Shaun. It's the Rodness Bakery.
Natalie, the kicker is if you become a member of the East Fremantle Sharks, you get 15% off.
Don't worry, a random man in a park told me that the other day.
Go the Sharks, get on board. Anyway,
So-
we'll wait and see what happens. But I think from the Dockers'
What are we
point
in?
of view,
It's round
they
10.
have to address this properly with Jackson.
It's round 10, right?
And it's okay, yes.
We've
And
got a lot of season to go.
most of these deals, by the way, for everybody out there, the trade deals are done the previous year.
I tell you what, Oscar Allen's breathing a sigh of relief that it's off him for a bit.
Oh, he'll be gone, by the way. He's gone. See you later, Oscar.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.